lap number 5 here. It's Mason Foster who was leading from Ethan Sparks by about 4 seconds. Then it's Finn and Werity in 3rd, Clayton Edmonds is 4th, Henry McCartney is 5th, and it's Charlie Huntingford, Ruben Bray, Greg Marshall, Luke Schofield, and behind that we have Holly Harris. I think that may have been, that wasn't a laps bike, was it? It was, of course, Greg Marshall battling away with the likes of Ruben Bray, who was able to get past, and Luke Schofield not too far behind that either.
Yeah, some great battles further down. Oh, a couple of riders just touched coming through the hairpin. Both stay on. That looked like Greg Marshall and Luke Schofield that might bumped into each other. It was a Greg Marshall on the back marker, but thankfully both riders stay on board their bikes for the time being. But looking at the leaders, as Mason Foster's got a 5.1 second gap over Ethan Sparks, 2nd in the championship, or 3rd in the championship now, after unfortunately not scoring yesterday. Finn and Werity is on course for his 2nd podium position of the season, his 2nd of the weekend, so that's a great ride there from the number 11 of Finn and Werity. But Clayton Edmonds is trying to hunt him down on the bike 146. Henry McCartney on bike number 31, but unfortunately from the rider that started 3rd in the grid and picked up 3rd spot yesterday, Warwick Brady has dropped all the way down to 11th place, so unfortunately not enjoying these dry conditions as much as the wet conditions of yesterday. But talking of wet conditions, it looks like it's just becoming a little bit overcast as the racing continues in the AC40 Pro, so fingers crossed the rain can stay off for the rest of the day's action. But Mason Foster, the fastest rider on track, a 55.9 last time round. He's still got the fastest lap of the race, a 55.6. But we've got to look back at the battle for 3rd. Look, Finn and Werty's moved up to 2nd. So Ethan Sparks has had a very horrible lap there, 5 seconds slower than Finn and Werty. Not sure what happened. Not sure if they got tangled up with a back marker or maybe ran off track. But that's unfortunate for Ethan Sparks. He's worked his way up the field into 2nd. He's now dropped back into 3rd. But great there from Finn and Werity.
Yeah, and it could get worse for Ethan Sparks as well, because Clayton Edmonds is not too far behind, nor is Henry McCartney either. The pair are, well, Edmonds is 1 second back, and then it's another second back to McCartney. So things could get worse for Ethan Sparks here as we come round the hairpin. That looks like the number 99 of Warwick Brady coming into the right-hander, now into the left-hand hairpin, and then they've got to get back up and back down again into the right-hander as they make their way towards the first of the infield hairpins. Just looking at Warwick Brady down in 11th. Lots of space either side.
There. Sorry about that, Chris. There's a rider pulled off the track there at the first of those hairpins just before the infield section. As it looks like the rider might have got back into the race because the marshal is walking away. It looks like it could have been Samuel Munson. Samuel Munson, it looks like, is dropped all the way back to 13th, so that's unfortunate for Samuel Munson, the number 72, who crashed out of a podium position at Tattershall race number 3. So Samuel Munson having a not too great last couple of races, but it looks like we're on the final lap of the race. Mason Foster still leads the way by nearly a few seconds, so 6 seconds is nearly the gap. Ethan Sparks has worked his way back into 2nd place once again. Finn and Werty in 3rd. We've got Clayton Edmonds in 4th. We're watching Warwick Brady, who's down in looks like Warwick Brady's moved up to 10th place at the moment, but we've got a rider pulled off the track there. I'm not quite sure who that is, but unfortunately that rider's pulled off the track at the exit of the first chicane. But as we watch Warwick Brady, the number 99, who finished 3rd yesterday, makes his way into the infield section. We've got to be keeping an eye out on Mason Foster, the number 88, who's on target to win his 12th race win of the season out of 14. That is a massive advantage there from the number 88 in the championship. As you can see, here goes Mason Foster across the start finish line, takes the checkered flag. That's 12 wins from 14. Just behind him, we're waiting for Ethan Sparks, who should move back up to 2nd in the championship. But as we can see, Mason Foster take a bow. That's a very well earned win. 2 in the bounce this weekend. Can he make it feel a little bit later on? Ethan Sparks across the start finish line, and Finn and Werity just holds on to 3rd ahead of Clayton Edmonds. Henry McCartney nearly nabs 4th from Edmonds across the start finish line. Charlie Huntingford, Luke Schofield and Ruben Bray and Warwick Brady, we're still waiting for them to come across the start finish line and complete their race. But Greg Marshall's come across the line in 10th. Jacob Stevenson in 11th, Holly Harris and Samuel Munson. It looks like they've unfortunately pulled off, so it might have been Holly Harris or Samuel Munson we saw pulled off towards the edge of the circuit there. So Charlie Huntingford comes across the line in 6th, Luke Schofield 7th, Ruben Bray, who finished 4th yesterday, drops back to 8th today, and then Warwick Brady will be the last of your runners and riders as he comes across the line in 9th.
Great stuff there from Mason Foster. You can see making his way back to the pits. He was even more demanding in this one than he was in the wet. Won by 14 seconds today. It was a win by 12 yesterday. You would have thought in the dry conditions that gap may have come down, but Mason Foster very, very confident out front, clearly. Ethan Sparks was second and moves back to second in the championship, as Liam said. Then it was Finn and Werity in 3rd place. Fantastic stuff from the AC40 Pro riders. Next up, we're going to have the Pit Bike 140 class and Moto team as well. But we've had 3 races so far, Liam. You know, we've had our Mini GP 70s, our AC40 rookies and pros. What have you made of it so far?
Well, so far there's been a lot less incidents than there was yesterday, because in the wet there was a lot of riders going down. It was quite slippy, but they say in the dry the track is very grippy, so that's just showing today. But we had a fantastic AC40 rookies to kick off the day. A very dramatic Mini GP 70s, James Cook going down, and of course Bailey Stewart Campbell coming from 13th on the grid to finish in 2nd. The AC40 pros, they put in a great effort. There wasn't much going on in the race apart from Ethan Sparks, who looked like he had 2nd sewn up but dropped back to 3rd. Not quite sure what happened there, but once again worked way back up into 2nd. So it just feels like it's just bubbling up very nicely for the rest of the day. There's still 15 races still to go throughout the entire day.
Yeah, plenty still to go. Of course, their first race in the dry conditions of the weekend, so some of the riders are just going to be getting themselves up to speed with those, and then I think maybe a little bit later on, once they feel even more confident to do so, we could see even closer racing if that was possible already. So fantastic stuff from the classes so far, and we've got another good one coming up. It's Pit Bike 140's Moto team.
So, from yesterday's race winner, your overall race winner, Harvey Claridge, on bike number 16, will be starting from pole position ahead of the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team. So he picked up his 2nd class win, but his 1st race win overall yesterday. Your championship leader, Jamie King, for the Pit Bike 140s will start alongside him on bike number 76. Unfortunately, Jamie King slipped off in yesterday's wet conditions, but once again, he has time for redemption in race number 2 today. Robert Cox on bike number 29 will be in 3rd ahead of the first Moto team rider, Will Howarth, who went and picked up his 9th race win of the season. Simon Clouds is just behind him. Your championship leader for the Moto team on bike 133, and then is Sean Whittaker just behind him on row number 3. Callum Wybrow leads up row number 4 and bike number 67 ahead of the Moto team bike of Vince Bailey. Jason Pugh on the other Moto team in 9th ahead of Jack Andrews, the Pit Bike 140, and it's Daniel Gilbert ahead of Alistair Kinnaird. So 12 runners and riders running out this, but once again we could have some more with Max Cook possibly taking part in today's action, because he missed out yesterday due to wet conditions, but might take part in the dry.
Well, yes, indeed. There we can see all the riders lined up. Claridge on pole position on the right-hand side of the grid, and Jamie King is going to be on the left-hand side of the grid on the front row. Here we go. They are told to look to the lights, and they're out, and we're off away and racing then, and it's Claridge who is trying to hold on to the lead as they go in towards the first corner, and just about does so as we come through the first chicane for the first time. I think everyone is
down at the back of the grid.
Oh, big incident. I think that was Max Cook who went down and was just, wasn't quite avoided, but I think just about got away with that one as he picks the bike back up and gets ready to go again. It was the number 11 who I think ran into him a little bit further down the field. In terms of our leaders, we've had a change as well, have we? No, this is further back, so I think this is Jay King running in 2nd place. Out front we have Claridge absolutely steamrolling away with things as they come through the last corner for the first time. So it is going to be Claridge who leads across the line. Jay King is in 2nd, Cox is 3rd, Howarth is 4th, Wybrow is 5th, then it's Clowes, Pugh, Gilbert, Kinnaird, Hook, Edwards, Bailey, Andrews, Gritton, O'Shea, and we have some riders that are yet to come across the line as well.
Yeah, so we've got Eddie O'Shea in this race as well. So some riders, as we can see, have joined this race for today. So there's all 12 that qualified yesterday. We've got a lot more today, but that's a move for third, is it? Oh, Will Howarth nearly made the move up the inside there. And then once again, Robert Cox nearly makes away past Jamie King. So Jamie King usually runs bike number 76, but who's that there? Is that, well, I thought it was Harvey Clouds for a second with the wheel rims, but thankfully it's not. But look, is that Will Howarth up to second? Yes, it is. Jamie King's been pushed back to fourth. Robert Cox stays in third, but gets ahead of Jamie King. So Will Howarth, even though he's on a moto team bike, is showing that it can compete with the Pit Bike 140s. So we've got a big gap at the front with, we should have Harvey Clouds there, but not sure where he is at the moment. But Will Howarth is into second position at the moment. Robert Cox in third. Jamie King dropping back from second to fourth. Has he got a bit of an issue? Looks over his shoulder, looking back to Callum Wybrow as they head towards the right, the left, and then back to the right again. Yes, it is Claridge. Claridge is off the edge of the circuit. Not sure what's happened there for Harvey Clouds, so I was right earlier on. Clouds is pushing his bike back to the pits. That's such a shame for yesterday's race winner and your early race leader. So that leaves the moto team bike of Will Howarth in the lead. So he might be on course to pick up his second overall race victory of the season after winning back at race number 1 in Tattershall.
Well, here we go, and as they come through the first chicane, it's Claridge is out of the race, so our race leader out with problems. Thought we may have just clocked up a timing issue to start with, but it is unfortunately what we didn't want it to be, and that is Harvey Claridge is out of the race. There is the number 16, the pole sitter, the race winner from yesterday, pushing his bike back to pit lane. So it leaves Will Howarth in a 2-second lead out front. As they come through the right-hander, there you can see Robert Cox leading this train of bikes down towards the final corner. This is all going on behind. Oh, we've got someone down there. Is that Jack Andrews? I think that may have gone down, unfortunately. So through the first hairpin, all going off here. We've got Howarth from Cox, King, Wybrow, Clowes. Then it's Gilbert, Edwards, Pugh, Hook and Kinnaird.
Yes, that's unfortunate there from the number 114 of Jack Andrews. But look around the outside there, what a move there by the number 21. The number 21 making a way past around the outside at the bottom end of the circuit.
I think
there.
this is our sixth place battle, isn't it?
I think you might be right there, Chris, there. So it could be Bernie Hook or could be Chris Edwards, but as he looks down his bike, has he got an issue? Hopefully not. There's been a lot of issues so far in this race at the moment for some of our race leaders, but thankfully he seems to be going at the moment. So some of the riders not matching up with the transponder numbers with the number plates in front of their bike. So up the inside it goes the likes of, was that Bernie Hook up the inside of Daniel Gilbert, or was it Jason Pugh? Jason Pugh on the Pit Bike 140, so it could have been Jason Pugh at the moment. So we can see the moto team bike just behind them. The moto teams really struggle to get through the corners more so than the Pit Bike 140s. The Pit Bike 140s are a lot lighter, they have more lean angles so they can get the bike over. The moto teams just seem to be a little bit too big for the karting circuits that we race around here and struggle to bank the bike over quite as much. But looking at the top of the field, it's still Will Howarth that leads the way. It was nearly 5 seconds ahead of Robert Cox, the number 29. Jamie King in third spot at the moment, the number 76, your championship leader. He will be extending the lead of the championship over Harvey Clouds. Clouds brought it down significantly yesterday, brought it down to 16 points, but with Clouds out of the race through a technical issue, Jamie King just needs those 16 points, well important points, to continue to extend his championship lead, which could move up to 32. But saying that, if Callum Wybrow or Simon Clowes on the bike 133 have anything to say about it, they might be taking some points off him.
Yeah, this is the battle for third that we are focusing on now. It is King leading it from Wybrow and Sam Clowes. Just the three of them involved in this as they make their way down to the final corner. Just a quick look over the shoulder there from Callum Wybrow. Sees Simon Clowes behind. King is ahead of this, fully focused ahead of what is going on in front of him. In the distance behind, we can see Edwards versus Bernie Hook, who is on the move, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But this, a perhaps even bigger battle than that is, as it is the battle for third place between King, Wybrow and Clowes coming in towards the final hairpin. We are on lap number 8 of the race, so we are half race distance now as they come into the right hand and now into the left through the quick right, which will take us down the back straight. and I think some of the riders that come off on the opening lap, like Max Cook, have just retired from the race immediately. So we don't have all our riders out there, but we certainly do have 3 of them battling away very heavily and in towards the first corner. That looked like Klaus going down the inside of Callum Wybrow. So good move there, and King now has someone else to worry about.
Yeah, he's got 2 people to worry about, and it looks like the riders just behind of Edwards and Hook could be closing the gap as well. Looking at the timing screens, yes, they are. They're quicker. Edwards are 46.0 and Bernie Hook are 45.7, so Jamie King might not just have 2 to worry about, he might have 4 to worry about with 7 laps remaining of this race as they make the way through the right, left-hander into the right once again, down the back straight. A bit of a head shake there from Jamie King. Just 6 laps remaining as they come across start finish line now, make that 7, and unfortunately for the riders that are under pressure, they'll be wanting the race to be over as soon as possible. But look at the riders just behind, 6th and 7th. Once again, Edwards and Hook much faster on that lap, a 46.0, a 45.7 for Edwards and Hook. This is going to be a train of 5 riders any moment now, Chris. This is shaping up to be a great battle for the final podium position.
As you said, yeah, they're like about half a second to 8/10 quicker, and now the gap has been closed. You can see Chris Edwards and Bernie Hook are now right on the tail of the 3rd place battle as we come through this left-hander and now into the right. Down the back straight we go, and in towards the final corner. We've got a very close battle for 3rd place going on. Down the start finish straight, it's King leading the train, but certainly behind. I think we could see some changes.
Simon Clowes up to 4th position now, round the outside of Wybrow into the first chicane. What a move there by the Moto Team rider, and he's showing that the Moto Team bikes can compete with the Pit Bike 140s and showing that they can pass as well. So great move there by Simon Clowes. So he is the championship leader of the Moto Team class and picking up some important points. But Will Howarth is still out the front of the lead. Look at Clowes, he's putting pressure on your Pit Bike 140 championship leader, so it's both your championship leaders here from 2 different classes. Got the run down the back straight into the final hairpin, late on the brakes he goes. Is he up the inside? Yes, he is. Simon Clowes, give him a round of applause there. What a move on Jamie King into the final turn. So he's gone from 5th to 4th to 2nd, and he's now right behind one of the back markers there. So the back marker move out of the way, looks over his shoulder, pulls off to one side, not doing it just yet. So he's holding up 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th as this train of riders is heating up ever more.
Yeah, that's Kevin Gritton, who's now just trying to pull and rider down there. Was that Bernie Hook who went down, or was that Chris Edwards? I think it might have been Edwards, unfortunately, who had gone down. Hook was at the back of the train. Chris Edwards was the second to last bike, and Chris Edwards off. There's Bernie Hook in the black leathers, who is still on. So from 6th place, unfortunately, Edwards falls down. It's the battle for 3rd place we were following between Klaus, King, and then we have Wybrow and Hook. Now I think Klaus has actually pulled a gap in 3rd place over King. So now we are looking at the battle for 4th place instead of 3rd. King really struggling for pace here. Here we go for battles a little bit further down the field. We can see Alistair Kinnaird coming through shot there. Will Howarth, our overall leader, is also the Moto Team leader as well. Oh, it's down the inside there. That was Bernie Hook going down the inside of Wybrow. Hook goes into 5th place as we are going into the final lap.
Yes, Will Howarth leading the way, 15 seconds, yes, you heard that right, 15 seconds ahead of Robert Cox in 2nd position. So we're watching Will Howarth here picking up another race win, and he's ahead into the 2nd right-hander, the penultimate corner, down the back straight, tucks underneath the bubble, trying to get some airstream over the back, through the final turn. It's going to be Will Howarth, comes through the final corner, onto the home straight. He will see the checkered flag. Will he pop a wheelie? No, he won't. But Howarth takes the race win of the Pit Bike 140s and Moto Team class. Once again, showing a prowess round this Lydd circuit in Kent. But we've got to wait a long way back, watch a long way back for Robert Cox in the bike number 29 to come home in 2nd. It was 15 seconds as he started the final lap. Will he come across the line any second now? Yes, he does. Robert Cox comes home in 2nd. Then it's going to be the brilliant Simon Clowes picking up the Moto Team at race win, and of course 3rd spot overall. But further back, who's it going to be? It's Bernie Hook. beat Jamie King. Your championship leader of the Pit Bike 140 slips back to 5th ahead of Callum Wybrow, but once again gives a wave to the camera. No, he doesn't. So that's Will Howarth just wanting to get back and celebrate his victory early on. So Chris, that was a very dramatic race in some stages.
Win by 15 seconds, fastest lap as well, and on the Moto Team bike. So fantastic stuff. Moto Team class rider winning the overall race, not for the first time this season. Robert Cox finished in second place, 18.5 seconds back. Simon Clowes finished third. It was Robert Cox who was the Pit Bike 140 leader. Clowes made it 2 Moto Team bikes in the top 3. Bernie Hook, good charge through at the end there to finish 4th. Jay King will be slightly disappointed, I think, with this pace, finishing 5th. Wybrow was 6th. Gilbert was 7th. Then it was Pugh, Kinnaird and Edwards rounding out the top 10. Andrews, Bailey, Gritton, Claridge and O'Shea the order. Fortunately for Harvey, Claridge having to retire only a few laps in from the lead of the race, so he'll be bitterly disappointed with that, but will certainly be back to try and take his second win of the weekend in race 3 later on this afternoon.
Yeah, so it's a big shame there for Harvey Claridge. He was your early race leader, had about a 2-second gap at the top of the field until he ran into technical troubles. It looked like he got back out there in the end just to pick up some points and of course test to see if they'd fix the bike. But as we can see, it's going to be the LC40 Elite category out next. Josh Bannister sitting in front of the rest of the field, and there's a nice wee stat about Josh Bannister's bike. It's an Evo bike. Now if you've never heard of it, it was actually built just a couple of miles down the road here in Lydd in Kent. It is an Evo bike built by Andy Whedon, who races in the senior mini moto category. So Josh Bannister is sitting on the first ever bike that was built of the Evo bikes. There's only 14 of them ever produced, so he had a bit of a struggle so far this weekend in the LC40 Elite. Will manage 1 lap in qualifying, will be starting at the back of the grid, and then unfortunately ran into more technical troubles before the start of yesterday's rain affected race number 1. So LC40 Elites are next up, then we'll have the Senior Mini Motos race number 2 right after that, ahead of the Mini GP70s race number 2 just before lunch. And then we've got the Extreme 200s race 2 after that, coming up at 1:45 just before the sidecars race number 2. That'll be the end of the second races just before we move into the third. So Chris, we had Johnny Garness once again running off into the distance in yesterday's race. Mason Foster, second in championship, had a bit of an issue, crashed out when he moved into second. What do you think we can see from today's race? So
well, I think it's going to be probably a close one once again. It was very close yesterday, but I don't think we're going to be getting the race going straight away. I think we've got some sort of track inspection perhaps going on here, Liam.
Yes, it looks like it. Our race director there, Roger Keys, who we spoke to earlier on in the weekend, is heading out onto track. They're running down towards the bottom end of the circuit, so down towards the second chicane. Not sure if there was maybe some oil dropped down, maybe a puddle or something, maybe some water seeped through the tarmac, but they're running down to check, see what's happened to the circuit. Maybe they just want some camera time, that could be it. I
mean, we've got, of course, the Junior LC40 Elites, the young riders, so we do want to make sure that the track is safe for the racing before we send the Junior LC40 Elite riders out, and it will mean that we may have a slight delay before we get this next race going. It's Junior LC40 Elite race number 2 that will be out on track next. Senior Mini Motos will be out straight after that. Mini GP50 race 2 will end our coverage for this morning, but do hang around as you may be able to see some interviews in the break. Extreme 200s will bring us back in at 1:45, and then we'll have sidecars which will end the second round of races, and then we will go into our third round of races all the way through till around 4:40. This is called FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship from Lydd Circuit. It's round number 5, the road to MotoGP, the official partner series of the British Superbikes Championship as well. Thanks for being with us and joining us from the south coast of England. Thankfully, a much better day than what we had yesterday. We've had some fantastic racing so far. If you've just joined us, you've missed the first 4 races, I can count, of the day, but you can catch all of those on via Motorsport Radio and FAB-Racing as well, so do check those out, and you can watch everything back after the weekend has finished. But I'm not too sure, Liam, I don't know if you've been looking more closely than me, but I'm not too sure exactly what we've got going on here. While we do have a little bit of a delay going on,
I'm not sure. Is there some water seeping through the tyres or something? Oh, but there we've got some.
Yeah, that will do it. That'll fix it.
Maybe a bit of oil indeed. Oh, there we go. That's the birthday boy just heading over to the marshal post there. So with the brooms. So that's Hobie, 18th birthday today. So yeah, wish him a happy birthday if you know who he is, or just wish him a happy birthday online.
There we go. Yep, why not? Why not? Well, we've got some old school techniques being used on the circuit to clean up the mess here, and while this is going on and we have a little bit of a delay, if you haven't seen the Lydd circuit before, if you haven't been here before, and you're wondering what kind of challenges the riders are taking on this weekend, here is an onboard lap courtesy of Jay King.
Hello, this is Jay King on my pit bike route 140, doing a lap of Lydd in Kent. So here we are now exiting the final corner onto the start and finish straight, over the curbs, down to third, into the first right, flick it to left, aim for the curbs on the way out, just clipping that one, up into fourth, back down to third again for the next fast chicane. Hold it tight, once again, aim onto the curbs on the way out and then drift it out for this fast right-hander. All the way out once again, aiming for the curb on the way out, feel the bike low light over the jump, and just over the jump down into third for the next right, flick over left, try and hold it as tight as possible so you can get as much power onto the back straight. Down to the back straight, I use the curb on the outside as the braking marker for this very fast last corner, miss the garden feature on the inside and back across the line, and that's a lap of Lydd.
So that's a lap there from the Pit Bike 140 Championship leader Jay King. This is the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the road to MotoGP, and of course the official partner series to the British Superbike Championship. So it looks like we might have had some clearing out there on the circuit, and we're still brushing away something that's happened down towards turn number 2. So I believe it's some oil, just hearing that from one of our producers, that is some oil down towards the chicane. So fingers crossed that'll be sorted very shortly. But I've got to give a big thank you to everyone that's involved in making this racing series happen, to all the marshals out there on circuit, keeping an eye on all the riders out there, and of course all the medical team, and of course everyone that is behind the scenes, Roger Keys and the whole team that have made the entire FAB-Racing Series Mini Bikes Championship happen. So as we can see, one of the marshals running back towards the pits, it looks like we've got everyone returning to the position, so we might have the racing action starting very, very shortly. So Chris, it looks like it could be done, and fingers crossed we'll get some good, fantastic LC40 action underway very shortly.
Yeah, hopefully so. There you can see riders getting ready. We're going to be coming out hopefully very soon to get racing back underway. We've got 3 more races, as we said, before we head into our lunch break here at Lydd, and then when we get back from the lunch break, it'll be coverage all the way through to the end of the day.
Yes, so before we get started, we spoke to some of the riders around about the paddock, and one of them was AC40 Rookies rider Luke Fitchett. So check out what he had to say.
My name's Luke Fitchett. And I ride in the AC40 Rookies.
AC40 Rookies. So look, how are you enjoying this track so far?
I love it because it's very fast and flowing.
So what's your favourite thing about the Lydd racecourse?
The fast sections where there's not many braking points. So, no.
So you're racing in the AC40 Rookies this season. Now there's a lot of you out there on track. How do you feel like the season is going?
It's going quite well. I'm third in championship, 16 points behind Ollie Sims in second, and I think this track will suit me.
Now you say you feel like the track will suit you. How well do you think you can do this weekend? Do you think you can take it to the championship leaders and pull some points back on them?
I think so. I'm hoping for at least a win and maybe some podiums as well.
There we hear from some of the riders before we get going. That was Luke Fitchett, who we just heard from there. But we have had all the track cleared up. Oil, it was down on the circuit. Thankfully, that's all cleared up so we can get Junior LC40 Elite underway. This is race number 2. Johnny Garness is going to be on pole position. He's your championship leader with 12 wins so far this season. Samuel Munson is alongside him, 5th in the championship with 1 podium. On row number 2, Mason Foster, 2nd in the championship. A win for him so far and 10 podiums. Cameron Sewell, a podium to his name. He starts from 4th place. On 5th place, it is 3rd in the championship, Ronnie Harris. Can he make it 5 podiums for him on this one? Clayton Edmonds is going to be 6th. Charlie Huntingford and Ruben Bray will be row number 4. Finn and Werity and Warwick Brady will be row number 5. Row number 6, it's going to be Greg Marshall and Holly Harris. And at the back of the field, he's 5th in the championship with 3 podiums. He starts in 13th though. It's Josh Bannister.
So as we've got the riders lining up on the grid, you can see Samuel Munson, number 72, at the front of your screen, just doing a little bit of a dance there before he sets off, so getting himself prepared to take the battle to Johnny Garness, who starts on the left hand side of the grid in pole position. So some of the riders further back just getting put into the grid slots, some of them switching around, possibly lining up in the wrong order at the moment. But just a big shout out to Cameron Sewell, who picked up his first podium of the season yesterday in 3rd spot. He will be starting from 4th position, and of course Samuel Munson on bike number 72. But as everyone clears their grid, looking at the lights, revs are rising, and away they go. Johnny Garness looks over his shoulder. Munson will be Munson into the first corner. No, it's still Garness who leads from pole position. Mason Foster jumps in to 3rd position. It looks like Clayton Edmonds got a great start and moved into 4th there. Cameron Sewell finished 3rd yesterday, slots into 5th place. That's your top 5 for the moment as they head down towards the hairpin at the bottom end of the circuit. Is it Garness still leading the way from Samuel Munson? Yes, it is at the moment as we watch the riders down towards the further end of the field, making some positions over the crest of the hill into the right hand. A very tough section of track just there. So Ronnie Harris on the back of Cameron Sewell, down towards the back end of the circuit, down towards the hairpin. Late on the brakes, they're using the infield section, unlike the bigger bikes who are using their full circuit, and they miss out this infield section of track here. We can see Josh Bannister has made the start of this race. That's great to see. Josh Bannister unfortunately missed out on yesterday's LC40 Elite race, but coming across the line, look at this battle for the lead. It's Garness, Munson, Foster. That is your top 3. A bit of a gap back to Clayton Edmonds, and then it's Cameron Sewell a bit further back from there. So here we go, Garness through the chicane. Look at Munson, great run. Mason Foster an even better one. So as we are watching Johnny Garness over the crest of the hill, will Mason Foster make a move into the right hander? Not yet. It's a flick from right to left. If we see once again, that is Mason Foster putting his leg out down towards the back end section of the circuit. Mason Foster getting a great run but can't make a move into the hairpin just yet as they make their way into the infield section of the track. Looks like Mason Foster kind of just lost the front ever so slightly, but managed to hold it up on his knee slider. So Mason Foster has a very interesting riding style where he goes to a left-handed corner, he sticks his right foot out just off the foot peg. So as we can see, Garness is just pulling ever so slightly ahead of Munson and Foster.
Yeah, just slightly. but it's Munson and Foster that are certainly much closer than Munson and Garness. And here we go, is Foster trying to line up and move into the hairpin. He wasn't quite able to get close enough, but he was on the exit, and Samuel Munson drops to third place. Mason Foster going through made it look very, very easy as well. Just a fantastic exit out of the corner, and he went straight past as we went over the brow of the hill there, going into the first of the two infield hairpins. Now Mason Foster has to try and close down race leader Johnny Garness, and he is already doing that. It would give you a gap, but don't really have to. You can see it has come down as they come across the line one more time. Into the first chicane we go, through the right left, and now through the exit, and it wasn't, well, we can see that looks like Foster trying to go around the outside for the lead. Now through the left and into the right once again as they go down to the hairpin. This was the point which Mason Foster was able to get the drive and go straight past Munson a lap ago. Can he do the same thing to Garness? Not at the moment, but he's got a few more laps still to do it as they come through that long left-hand hairpin, and now through the right. A bit of a wobble for Mason Foster, but no such problems for him. It is Garness who looks to be taking more slightly defensive lines now as Foster continues to up the pressure in second place.
Garness is targeting his 13th win of the season. Mason Foster is looking to claw back some championship points and pick up a second race win of the season. Now, there's a very interesting story behind Foster and Garness. They've been battling each other ever since they started racing mini motos all those years ago, but as Foster got the run out of the chicane, not doing it yet. Whoa, he nearly tags the back of Johnny Garness into the second chicane, had to set it up, runs a little wide. Johnny Garness didn't know he was there, so he's unaffected by that at the moment, but these two battling all the way through their career at the moment, and Mason Foster very methodical, very quick on the straight lines, but Johnny Garness a very aggressive riding style, late on the brakes, goes into the corner very sharply and just cuts off Mason Foster, so Foster can't make a move on his championship rival. But look at this, Munson, the Munson burner, still sitting in third spot, targeting possibly his first race win of the year, and of course his second podium of the season after picking up second yesterday in race number 1 under wet conditions behind Garness and ahead of Cameron Sill. As they tick off another lap, there's 5 laps remaining of this LC40 Elite. Will Foster get another run out of the chicane? Yes, he does. He's trying to look around the outside, up the inside, late on the brakes he goes. Will he do it? No, not quite yet. Garness still holds him off. But as we see, as they head down towards the bottom end of the circuit there, and a bit of a moment there from, was it Garness there?
Yeah, a bit of a wobble there as he made his way down to the hairpin. Foster was not able to capitalise though, so they're running in the same order. I'll tell you, it would be worth looking back at Josh Bannister on the number 2, because Bannister has set the fastest lap, is up to 5th place now from dead last on the grid. Josh Bannister absolutely flying, finished 2nd place yesterday, did Josh Bannister, up to 5th in the championship with that result, and a good result today could put him up to 4th in the standings as well. So we'll keep an eye on the progress of Josh Bannister a little bit further behind this. Here we can see some of the riders coming through, so we've got Clayton Edmonds, then there's Josh Bannister putting lots of pressure under Clayton Edmonds as they come through the first chicane. I think we might see a move here. Josh Bannister trying to get down the inside into the second chicane. He can't quite do it, but he's still got a few laps in the bag to try and make a move here. Up to the hairpin and down the inside. Bannister once again getting cut off there by Clayton Edmonds. Ronnie Harris in that white crash helmet is just behind this as well. So 2 three-way battles within our top 6 at the moment. Up ahead it is Garness, Foster and Munson. Behind it is Edmonds, Bannister and Harris.
Bannister and Harris are chasing down Edmonds, and every which way they're trying to find a way around in the middle section of the circuit. Saw Marshall run across the screen there. Hopefully no one's gone down. Luckily they haven't there, so just someone running off the circuit. But here we go, battle for first. We'll see Munson go through. We'll see Clayton Edmonds, that's Bannister and Harris making their way up towards the chicane now. Will Bannister try and get up the inside? He's got a great switch back up towards the second chicane. Well, not doing it just yet as they head in towards the second chicane. There's a lot of debris on the middle of it there. It looks like Clayton Edmonds ran over it. Bannister round the outside into the hairpin, late on the brakes from Edmonds, not doing it yet, but will Bannister make the way up the inside as he power out of the hairpin over the brow of the hill into the tight right-hander towards the end of the circuit. No, he can't do it yet. But there's a battle for lead. Foster's in the lead. He's got ahead of Garness. That happened off the bottom end of the circuit. Not sure when that happened, but Foster's now in the lead of the race. Garness, we know, will fight back as soon as possible. He's doing it right now into the second last corner. Not doing it yet. Into the final corner we go. Down the home straight. The last lap is approaching. Who's it going to be? Will it be Foster? Will it be Garness? Through the chicane they go. Into the final lap it is. It's once again a massive crescendo between Foster, Garness. Munson has dropped off the back of these two into third position at the moment, down towards the bottom end of the circuit. Can Foster hold on to this? Can he pick up his second race win of the season, or will it be Garness picking up his 30th race win over the brow of the hill into the right-hander? A bit of a shake in the head from Mason Foster. Garness quick through the corners there. Foster puts his leg out and to the back straight we go once again, over the start finish line, not doing it just yet, and to the tight hairpin. Garness, you know, will look, you know he will go up the inside if he can. Garness through the hairpin, great run from the hairpin from Foster. 2 corners to go, penultimate corner, final corner. Garness, Foster, Garness up the inside of Foster. He's done it. Has he run wide across start finish line? Who's going to be photo finish? It's Mason Foster, takes his second race win of the season. Johnny Garness finishes second. Samuel Munson is going to be in third. Josh Bannister started from the back, finishes in fourth there. Look at this from Mason Foster. Won that fair and square. Last corner, last lap. An absolute epic for the ages, Chris.
Brilliant stuff there from Mason Foster. Took the win out of the final corner as he just lost it. Garness takes second place. Then it was Munson in third, just sitting behind the two leaders battling away. Bannister did get fourth place in the end. Fantastic stuff from him. Couldn't quite give you an accurate reading of the rest of the order. Unfortunately, we're having a timing issue in the commentary box, but on our screens it does say it was Harris, Sewell, Huntingford, Werrity, McCartney and Brady, but unfortunately we're not quite getting the timing in our commentary box, so not able to give you the rest of the order. But we do know what happened out front, and that was Foster, Garness and Munson, your top three. Fantastic riding between all three, and a brilliant last lap disputed between Foster and Garness. So it's Foster from Garness, Munson third, then it was Bannister, Harris, Sewell, Huntingford, Werrity, McCartney, Brady, Bray, Harris, Marshall, Edmonds and Stevenson. Provisional result though, won't say that with complete certainty. What we can say though is Foster taking the win by 56 thousandths of a second from Johnny Garness, having briefly lost it through the final corner, got the run, able to get the run down the start finish straight. Garness gave it a good go, can't be disappointed with his efforts. Foster will be very, very pleased he was just able to get back down that start finish straight. Fantastic race, another good one, and plenty more still to come. We go into senior mini motos next, and it's going to be Josh Birkin who starts on pole position for this one. We wait the riders to come out on to the circuit, and they will have their first warm-up lap. There we can see one of the riders just giving a practice start, so it's going to be Josh Birkin who starts on pole position for this one.
Yes, so as Chris just said, Josh Birkin will be starting on pole position ahead of Bernie Hook. Some great battles between them in yesterday's wet race. Simon Huntingford on bike number 47 leads off row number 2. Craig Ashall on bike number 81 in fourth spot ahead of Aston Dean. 16th place in the championship, moved up a few positions after a strong result in yesterday's race, finishing in 6th spot. Adam Ambrose on bike number 21 will go off 6th position on the grid. And then it will be Nick Bennett on bike 711, 7th place in the championship, and Neil Skinner on bike number 13 will be in 8th spot. Will Howarth He didn't qualify yesterday, but he did start at the back, so we expect him to start from 9th place on the grid on bike number 96. Third in the championship, picked up the race win yesterday, and of course 12 points I think this 2019 season, so you can see him further back on the black bike. So I'll hand you over to Chris for the start of the Senior Mini Motos race number 2.
Well, here we go then. We can see riders getting ready on the grid at the moment. Birkin is on the right hand side of the grid, the inside line going in towards that first chicane. Starting on the outside, it is Bernie Hook, but as we've seen in races gone by, if you can get a good run off the second row, there's no reason why you can't be leading going through that first chicane. Birkin looks over at Bernie Hook, championship leader, 4 wins and 13 podiums for him. Josh Birkin, with his result yesterday, 2 podiums for him this season, moved up to 6th in the standings. But here we go, we wait for the flag to be waved. Birkin starts from pole, Hook from second. We're off away in racing, and it looked like a good start for Bernie Hook, and Hook goes straight into the lead. Josh Birkin had to give the bike a couple of kicks there to get going, and he's really struggled in the first 2 corners. He's lost second place as well as they make their way now through the second chicane. I think it's Huntingford. An incident there. One of the riders in the middle of the pack unfortunately going down. We'll confirm who that is in just a second, but we'll go back to our leaders for now. It is Bernie Hook who certainly leads the way. Birkin did drop down to 3rd place, but that could be worse when we pick it up as they now make their way down towards the infield hairpins. Into the first one they go, and that looked like I think that may have been Adam Ambrose going on the charge as they come through the left-hand hairpin and now down to the final corner for the first time. Out front though, a very good start from Bernie Hook. Got a huge lead going in towards the first chicane, and he's already cleared off out front as we complete lap number 1 of Senior Mini Motos.
Oh, a good run there for a second and third position there. Riders are nearly bumping and boarding into each other as they head down towards the second chicane at the moment. So, some great riding at the start. Unfortunately, a bit of an incident on lap number 1, but the rest of the riders seem to be through and clear as Bernie Hook leads the way ahead of Huntingford. Andy Whedon in 3rd. Craig Ashall in 4th, but Will Howarth from further down the grid has managed to work his way up into 5th position ahead of Nick Bennett, Adam Ambrose, Neil Skinner and Ross Michael in 9th. Josh Birkin from pole position dropped all the way back to 10th position in the race, and Aston Dean looks like the person that slipped off at the chicane on the first lap. So horrible news there for Aston Dean on bike 137. But Hook is still leading the way at the moment as they tick off another lap, but it looks like he's pulled out a bit of an advantage. Yes, new fastest lap there from Bernie Hook at 55.992, 1.4 seconds. His advantage is now over Simon Huntingford on bike number 47. Will Howarth is now up to 3rd spot, so he's made some moves on that previous lap there. We can see him making his way down towards the bottom end of the circuit, the hairpin there. So can he make any inroads into Huntingford and Hook, who's 5.6 seconds further up the road?
Well, Bernie Hook, very good lead at the moment. Apologies if we didn't get all the names read out on the grid, but some riders did not qualify, so that is why there is a couple more than what we read out. 11 riders in this one in total as they come down to the first of the infield hairpins. It's Hook from Huntingford, Will Howarth is 3rd, Craig Ashall 4th. We saw Andy Whedon making a move into the first infield hairpin on the first lap. He's up to 5th. It has dropped down a place, so was briefly higher than that, was briefly in the top 5. Can he get back there? Adam Ambrose is 6th, and then it's Nick Bennett in 7th, Neil Skinner is 8th, Josh Birkin. Terrible start from the pole sitter. He's now fighting to try and get back up the order. He's gone just up to 8th place on that last lap ahead of Neil Skinner. Ross Michael is next, and it was Aston Dean who went down unfortunately on the first lap and is out of the race sadly. But this is Bernie Hook coming down towards the first infield hairpin. He is leading by over 2 seconds at the moment. It's a further 3 seconds back to Howarth and then 1.5 seconds back to Ashall. So a huge spread already in this field. The only battle we've got going on within the top 10 is for 5th place between Andy Whedon and Adam Ambrose, and that is why it looks like Bernie Hook is is actually trying to slow down on purpose, I think. So he doesn't really seem too bothered at the moment, but he still has the fastest lap of the race of 55.8.
Looks like he may be getting some cramp in his leg there as he's heading down the home straight. But look, that's Birkin trying to make his way up the inside of Bennett at the moment into turn number 1. He's trying to climb his way back up through the field after starting from pole position and slipping all the way back down to 10th. So not sure if he was maybe caught up in the Aston Dean incident on lap number 1. So the battle for 7th and 8th, it says, lunge up the inside from Josh Birkin there, up the inside of Bennett. Bennett didn't see him coming, he's looking over his shoulder going, what just happened? So that's Birkin up to 7th spot. Nick Bennett pushed out of the way at the bottom end of the circuit, now back down to 8th position there. So Josh Birkin looks like he's on a mission to try and catch the leaders, but with only a few laps remaining, it will be very tough for him to catch Adam Ambrose.
He's gone down.
Go. He slid out of the race, so that's
Birkin.
Josh Birkin on the infield section of the circuit slides out of the race. But here's our leaders. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd. That's Will Howarth making his way into 2nd position at the end of the last lap. He's now into 2nd ahead of Craig Ashall. Simon Huntingford has dropped back to 4th position there, as we can see. So that looks like actually Craig Ashall has made his way up to 2nd. But whoa, as they head down towards the bottom end of the circuit, Simon Huntingford looking back up the inside of Craig Ashall. So Will Howarth has already made his way past this gag of riders.
He's well ahead.
Yeah,
actually.
he's already gone. He's chasing down Bernie Hook for first, but he's already 6.8 seconds further back. So with 4 laps remaining, that looks like it's going to be very tough. But the battle here for 3rd spot, Chris, looks well and truly on.
Yeah, this is a battle for 3rd. We can see it's coming into the 2nd hairpin now and making its way down towards the final corner. 4 riders in it and very close together as well. They're split by just over a second, are the 4 of them in total, as they make their way down to the first corner. We've got the number 47 of Huntingford was in 3rd and now goes back to 3rd past Craig Ashall. Andy Whedon and Adam Ambrose are just behind this group as they come through the right, now the left, and back into the right-hander once again. We are into the final 3 laps of the race now. Bernie Hook well clear out front, lapping a second slower than what he was originally, just to take the pace off. Howarth can cruise round now. He's got a 5-second gap over a battle for 3rd. We can see now coming down to the infield hairpins for what is going to be the 7th time in the race. 4 riders in this. It looks like it could either end in a very, very good fight for the 3rd place spot, or it could end in tears at the same time. So it is Huntingford in 3rd, from Ashall in 4th, Whedon in 5th, and Ambrose in 6th.
Yes, Ambrose in 6th on the back of this battle. We see for the podium positions, but the battle looks like it's split up into 2 now. So Huntingford and Ashall just ahead of Whedon. Ambrose is a bit of a gap, as I said, split 2 by 2 as they head into the chicane section, the second chicane at the start of the lap. Down towards the bottom end of the circuit, the hairpin section, very bank corner, out of it, the power over the crest of the hill into the next right-hander they go. So a very tough section of track there. Can Ambrose make a move on Andy Whedon? Andy Whedon at his home circuit this weekend, and not just his home circuit, but he's also out there racing with some of his homemade bikes, 14 of them, the Evo bikes, and of course your race leader Bernie Hook at the moment leading this race with one of his homemade bikes. Last lap of the senior mini motos has just started here, so it's going to be Bernie Hook, Will Howarth and Craig Ashall. So far your podium positions, Bernie Hook got a 6.5 second session, 6.5 seconds ahead of Will Howarth in 2nd spot there.
Yeah, here we go. This is Bernie Hook, looks round briefly, and no need to even do a lean forward there to try and get the bike going a little bit quicker. He is absolutely cruising round at the moment. Bernie Hook kind of won this race at the start, really. Since then hasn't made any mistake, hence he's going to come home and take yet another victory this season. Bernie Hook, the championship leader. This will be 5 wins for the season, as long as he can hand on 1 corner to go, and across the line it's 5 wins for Bernie Hook, his 2nd win of the weekend. Fantastic stuff from Bernie Hook, who takes yet another victory, fastest lap to go with it as well. Will Howarth finishes in 2nd place, Huntingford will finish in 3rd, then it will be Craig Ashall in 4th place, Andy Whedon will finish in 5th place. Adam Ambrose just outside of the top 5, finishes in 6th place, and as he comes across the line, Birkin, who was 2nd yesterday behind Will Howarth, who actually took the win, unfortunate 7th after a very disappointing start. Nick Bennett 8th, Neil Skinner was 9th, Ross Michael 10th, Aston Dean will finish 11th. But Bernie Hook, that's his first win here of the weekend at Lydd, 5 for the season now, and it's just only going to extend his championship lead out front.
So great ride there from Bernie Hook, who is the dad of Abby Hook, who is currently dating Bennett's British Superbike rider Brad Ray. Brad Ray is usually here for the Cool Fab meetings, but he's over in Japan at the moment at Suzuka, racing in the Suzuka 8 Hours. So that's where he is. He's not here at the weekend, which is a shame, but fingers crossed he will be back for round number 6 at Wilton Mills. So we've got one more race underway before the lunch break. It's going to be the Mini GP50s, and this is a class that usually gives us a lot of great racing. So we've got Josh Bannister, Harrison Crosby, the likes of them as well, will be doing battle in this Mini GP50 races just coming up. So Chris, just before we get the Mini GP50s underway, the Senior Mini Motos were just out there. What would you take from that race we've just had?
Well, unfortunately, a couple of falls from the riders, just pushing, as hard as possible. But I think a fantastic start. We did talk about it before the start of the race, that riders from the 2nd and 3rd row can take the lead going into the first corner, and I think that demonstrated why that can happen, because Bernie Hook's start to the race was so much better than anyone else's. That's what I love about bike racing. Sometimes qualifying can really become irrelevant, because as long as you're in that top 3 rows and you have a chance of leading the first lap. So that's the fantastic thing here. Lydd, it's a very short run to the first corner actually as well. Goes into a very tight left-hander through the second part of that chicane, so getting a good start is crucial, although it's not the end of the world if you don't. But Bernie Hook, on fire today. Yesterday finished in 3rd place. Today he adds yet another win, 5 that is now for his season. So looking really good out front in the championship is Bernie Hook. As we can see, he's only going to extend his lead further. It's going to be about over 40 points now. So fantastic stuff from Bernie Hook.
Yes, a big championship lead there for Bernie Hook. So welcome if you've just joined us. This is the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. We can hear the bikes revving in the background. The Mini GP50s are about to head out onto the circuit. And Chris, you were commentating yesterday with Max Cook on this race. What was the biggest talking point after the race was done?
Well, it was actually just great to have Max in here, to be honest, because one thing, plenty of things we asked him is, how this is such a big step, for these guys getting onto the geared bikes and having to learn that process. And the main thing that we took away, and the main thing that he advised to the riders, from the box was, it's so crucial to get into a rhythm, particularly around here as well. And that is something that can be very difficult to do. And unfortunately, we saw some, falls for some of the riders high up the order late on. Hopefully we don't see that today. We want to see some really good racing, and I think we will see that. So Harrison Crosby is going to be who starts from pole position then. Championship leader, 5 wins for him so far this season. Carl Payne is alongside. Can he get his first win of the season? Carter Brown is charging up the order. He was a rider that fell from 3rd yesterday late on. Hopefully he recovers well today. Ronnie Harris looking for his first podium is 4th. Then it's Sullivan Mounsey, Ryan Hitchcock, Alfie Davidson and Josh Bannister on row 4. Thomas Gomez and Lucas Brown on row 5. Harrison McKay and Ollie Horner are row 6. Ben Jolliffe and Warwick Brady row 7. Here is Liam Hodgins to talk you through the start of the race.
So a very good grid of riders taking up their positions at the start of the Mini GP50s. Harrison Crosby, your championship leader, took the race win yesterday in the very tough and wet conditions ahead of the number 25 of Kyle Payne. Sullivan Mounsey on bike 144 was your podium position. Josh Bannister, as we just mentioned there, will be starting further down the order. Josh Bannister starting in 8th place, managed to pick up 4th position in the wet. So he's struggling with the wet conditions, but can he make up some positions in the dry conditions of today's race? So we've got Kyle Payne on bike number 25 to your right. We've got Harrison Crosby on bike number 69, looking like Jorge Lorenzo's, but one of the 9s has been flipped upside down and it is a 6. So the 69 there of Harrison Crosby will be starting from pole position on the left hand side of the grid. The final checks of the riders have been made. They're on the grid now as the marshal steps off, looking to the flag. The revs are rising and away they go. Looks like we've got a great start there from the 25 of Kyle Payne. Leaps off the line into the lead ahead of Crosby. And is it Carter Brown? Yes, Carter Brown, who just missed out on a podium yesterday, is in third position as they head down towards the second chicane at the start of this lap. Josh Bannister is in 5th, and just behind them, or just in front of him, sorry, is Ryan Hitchcock. We've got a move. Ryan Hitchcock up the inside at the bottom hairpin of Carter Brown. Josh Bannister nips through as well. So that's it. Carter Brown dropping from 3rd down to 5th in one corner there. So we've got Crosby all over the back of Payne as they head down towards the back straight. Bannister all over the back of Ryan Hitchcock in towards the final turn. Have we got a move for 3rd? Yes, we do. Bannister up the inside a little bit wide. He's ran wide so much so that Hitchcock has made a move back into 3rd place there. But we've still got Carter Brown in 5th position as we start lap number 2.
Yeah, that was great battling going on there. They're the two leaders. There's 3rd place, as you were talking about. Here's the battle for 5th place further back. Got 5 in it. So it was Carl Payne who was leading the way from Harrison Crosby, and it is Ryan Hitchcock, Josh Bannister, Carter Brown, Ronnie Harris, Lucas Brown, Sullivan Mounsey, who's dropped back at the start. Ben Jolliffe has gone up. Ollie Horner also dropping back just a little bit as they come through the right-hander down towards the final corner, past those two infield hairpins. There's the number 29 trying to get down the inside. That's Lucas Brown, and executes that move perfectly on Ronnie Harris. So Lucas Brown up into 6th place now, and he's got a chance of making yet another place as Carter Brown lays just ahead of him on the blue bike. Here they come now down towards the second chicane. It was a look down the outside briefly there for Lucas Brown. Wasn't quite able to do it, but he's got this hairpin to do it now. Looked like Carter Brown ran slightly wide there, but maybe a preferred line, or has he run wide on the exit of the hairpin? He has. Is this going to allow Lucas Brown to get down the inside? It isn't. Back to the leaders. Carl Payne is under a lot of pressure here from Harrison Crosby, who looks to the outside into the last corner. Bannister is there as well. Also Ryan Hitchcock is there. They've just swapped places and in towards turn number 1. Crosby almost going round the outside there, Liam.
We've seen so much from these three in 2019 so far, but can Crosby do it? No, but Bannister's all over the back of Crosby. That's your top two in the championship. Crosby and Bannister can. Bannister takes some points off Crosby. He's looking to try and do it. He started from 8th on the grid. He's now 3rd. So this is a great ride so far from the number 2 of Josh Bannister. But Kyle Payne is showing his prowess in the lead position at the moment as they go from left to right onto the back straight. Great run there from Crosby down the back straight. Can he make a move up the inside? But can Bannister make a move up the inside of Crosby? Late on the brakes he goes, not doing it yet. Crosby lets off the brakes to allow himself to sweep round the outside of Bannister and hold a second position. These three have got a bit of a gap over Hitchcock, who's just under a second behind them down towards the second chicane at the start of this lap. Nip and tuck, wheel to wheel, a six-wheeled train here at the front of the grid, and towards the bottom end of the circuit we go once again. Now we see Crosby gets great runs out of these hairpins over the brow of the hill into the right-hander. Look at Bannister, he's up the inside into the tight right-hander, not doing it yet. Going through the right, into the left once again. You've got to set yourself up perfectly for a run onto the back straight. The wheel tries to spin out. Crosby's looking again. Bannister's looking around the outside. Will one of them make a stick? Oh, that was close there. Kyle Payne holding on valiantly at the head of the field, Chris.
Yeah, it's very, very close, isn't it? Here's Harrison Crosby trying to go to the outside. Carl Payne really has a train behind him now. He's started to defend. He's shown what he wants to do in this race. His intentions are clear. He wants to defend to the end if necessary. Harrison Crosby is now in the middle of a sandwich here. Josh Bannister is in the exact same position as well, but is going to try and go on the attack as they go down to this right-hander. Can't quite do it. Now through the long left-hander, quick flick then for the right, and down to the final corners. Bannister is currently the quickest rider on circuit, but can't quite get into the top 2 positions. Ryan Hitchcock, what does he do? He can only go forward, but when does he decide to make his move?
Oh, he's tagged him! Crosby's down! Wow, he tagged the back of Payne. He's into the barrier at the first chicane. Sorry, Chris, to jump over you there, but he's up. He's okay. That is unfortunate there for your championship leader, stomping with rage at the bike there. So he nearly kicks it, and he's angry. He's so angry at the bike, he nearly kicked it, but he tried to take the lead of the race from Kyle Payne. Got too close, tagged the back, but thankfully he's up. He's okay. He's trying to get back into the race, but it's the leaders. Kyle Payne looks unaffected by this. Josh Bannister still in second as they're lapping Warwick, Brady, and we've got Ryan Hitchcock. So that has scattered the leading group there.
Yeah, it really has, hasn't it? It's opened up the door for Josh Bannister here. Likewise for Ryan Hitchcock as well, who now finds himself in third place. A huge, huge disappointment there for Harrison Crosby, fighting for the lead. And one small mistake in Mini GP50 can see your race end as quick as that. So very disappointing result, but he'll be back for more. Lucas Brown is now in fourth. Sullivan Mounsey has come up to fifth, but here we go for the lead. Bannister trying to get down the inside of Carl Payne. We're into the final 5 laps of this race. He can't quite do it. Carl Payne had a slight bit of breathing space, but only briefly, as Bannister now comes charging down the outside into the final corner. Can he get the switch back and get the run down the start-finish straight? He can't. It's almost like we're seeing a replay every single lap here. Carl Payne is putting his bike in all the right places, but he opened the door. He has, and Josh Bannister slides down the inside. Josh Bannister takes the lead. That was probably the only time in this race that Carl Payne has left a gap, and Josh Bannister took advantage.
Oh, what a move there by Bannister. He's been looking like he's been wanting to do that all race long. Started from 8th in the grid. He still needs the race. So we're back with Josh Bannister. Kyle Payne, Hitchcock still there. This is your top 3 for the race win. Can Kyle Payne find anything to retaliate on Josh Bannister? But Josh Bannister's holding a bit of a gap at the top of the field at the moment as they come through the first chicane, powering down the straight into the second. Bannister has about a 2 to 3 bike length advantage over Payne. Hitchcock just under a second off your leader at the moment, but with Bannister leading, this allows Payne to just study where Bannister is quicker and where he's quicker and where he might be able to try and lunge up the inside towards the end of the race. There's only 2.5 laps remaining, Chris. This is anyone's race so far.
It is, isn't it, as they come down towards the final corners. Now this is a moment in a race where you're the race leader and you've had to heavily defend for a long time and you suddenly lose the race lead. This is your chance to show what you can do chasing and overtaking. So Carl Payne, this is a real good opportunity for him. Although he's lost the race lead, he's got a chance to show what he can do, having to do the chasing. But oh dear, he's going to get really slowed down by a back marker there. Huge shame there for Josh Bannister. Ryan Hitchcock is then in third place now coming through. I think this might be Warwick Brady that they are going past. But behind all this, it's Lucas Brown in fourth place, and then it is Sullivan Mounsey who's under intense pressure from Ronnie Harris in sixth. Ollie Horner is in seventh, and he has a huge queue of bikes behind him in the likes of Carter Brown, Ben Jolliffe and Harrison McKay as well, which rounds out the top 10 as Bannister comes through the first chicane for the final time. Liam, he's got a gap of 8 tenths now. I think all he needs to do is stay on the bike, and he's got this one in the bag.
Barring mistake from Josh Bannister, as you said, Chris, it looks like he does have this in the bag, but anything can happen in the Mini GP50s, and he usually does. We're talking about him having it in the bag. Kyle Payne is putting in a lap of his life at the moment, closing the gap back down. It was 8 tenths at the start finish line. That looks like about 3 tenths of an advantage now. 2 corners to go, powering down to the back straight. Will be Bannister who gets a horrible run onto the back straight. Kyle Payne is not close enough. Bannister hold it, yes he does, through the final turn. Who's it going to be powering out the last corner? Cross the start finish line. Josh Bannister from 8th on the grid takes the race win of the Mini GP50s. Kyle Payne comes across the line in second. Ryan Hitchcock, bike number 43, takes home a very safe third position. We're waiting for the rest of the runners and riders to come through. Lucas Brown, we're expecting on bike number 20, and a big finish there. That looked like Sullivan Mounsey just holding off Ronnie Harris for 5th position there. So Lucas Brown comes across the line 4th, Sullivan Mounsey 5th, Ronnie Harris in 6th, Ollie Horner, Carter Brown, and of course Harrison Crosby, who was in this lead battle before he tagged the back of your race leader at the time, Kyle Payne. comes across the line in 9th ahead of Ben Jolliffe. Harrison McKee in 11th, and Warwick Brady rounds out your runners and riders, Chris.
I can tell you what, one thing that is going to do is close down the championship lead as well. Harrison Crosby was 20 points clear. That'll be 25 points to Josh Bannister. Harrison Crosby will get significantly less, and we could see a new championship leader in Josh Bannister walking away from Lydd in the lead of the championship after race 3. So, well, there we go. Bannister, fastest lap, definitely deserved that race lead. It's a shame we didn't get to see Harrison Crosby fight it out in the quartet there. Carl Payne finishes in 2nd, and he came back strong on that last lap. Ryan Hitchcock rounds out our podium in 3rd place. Well, it's been an intense morning of racing. I think it's a good time actually that lunch break has come round, to be honest, because we definitely could do with 5. We've still got 2 of the race 2s to go in Extreme 200s and sidecars, and then we go into our race 3s, but it's been hard to call what has been probably the best race of the morning. I don't know, that Mini GP 50 race was up there. The 70s was good as well, but I mean, all throughout the morning it's been fantastic racing, hasn't it?
It absolutely has, Chris. Now, you mentioned there the Mini GP 50 is probably the best race of the morning. I would agree with you, but once again, the AC40 Rookies, the first race of the day, the top 3 battling it out for the race win was intense, but for drama and just chaos the whole way through it, the Mini GP50s always give us that intense battle all the way to the end. And then we've got the LC40 Elites once again, Mason Foster, Johnny Garnes, those 2 battling out again once again to the final corner, and this time Mason Foster managed to nip ahead and take the race win. So it's been a great morning of race action here at the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship here at Lydd in Kent. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'm Liam Hodgins, Chris McCarthy. We will be back a little bit later on at 1:45 p.m, so make sure that you continue to watch Motorsport Radio, of course FAB-Racing on Facebook and Twitter, and of course on motorsport.tv, and stick around because we have a great, brilliant interview with Roger Keys. An interview with him that we caught up with him yesterday is all about 2020, the British Talent Cup, and of course the future of FAB-Racing. Joining me in the studio is FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Race Director Roger Keys. Roger, thanks for joining us today.
Pleased to do that, and pleased to talk about this series as much as you want. So.
Yeah, we would love to talk about it in such depth. So we're here at round number 5 in Lydd in Kent, and well, the 2019 FAB Championship has just been absolutely stellar. Now, what are the plans going forward for the championship from 2020 and beyond?
Well, to be honest, there'll be a lot of opportunities for the young riders now. Obviously, they go through starting at the very bottom and work their way to the top end of our champion or junior championship, because we do have seniors, and I don't want to ignore those. But the junior championship finishes out with the Mini GP 70s, and that's normally when they get to approximately 12 years old. And as things stand, that will give them the opportunity to actually go on and do British Talent Cup in its new format in next year, which will move it quite a way towards BSB, well, completely towards BSB ultimately. But it does mean that every rider that can get the funds together, and it is very, very subsidised. It's not completely free like it was before, but heavily subsidised. Any rider can then actually go into the championship as long as they're no older than 17 years on Jan the 1st next year. They can be 18 during that year, but they must be 17 or under. And I believe the lowest age is going to be 12%. Sure how that's going to sort it out, and that will happen. Certainly leaves us with the opportunity for maybe 5, 6 or even 7 of our riders being able to go forward from there. And I think we should try and take some steps to get them an interim bike to get used to the slightly higher power. Although we've had even Eddie O'Shea was in British Talent Cup this year, not even having moved to 70s at that time. He was only riding Mini GP 50, and all right, he hasn't set the world light in the class, but he hasn't and nothing to be ashamed of. So I think that's quite a good idea of what the talent is at this level.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's quite a lot of talent coming through the system at the moment. Talking about the Mini GP 70s, now it's a very tough competition in the class. What is it about that category that just makes it so incredibly brilliant?
Well, I think the bikes are all the same. That's step one. We're fairly strict on that. They have to run the same. They have a choice of tyre compounds, but they all have to run the same tyre, which also happens in quite a lot of other championships. That equalises it a lot. The motors are, as best we can, the same. They're not allowed to modify them, tune them, or whatever. And again, that helps to make them equal. And the riders actually ultimately pull each other along. Somebody gets a little bit ahead and the other one thinks, well, he can do that, I can do that, and then it moves down the line. And I mean, we've had situations now where 6, 7 or even 8 riders have been less than a second between them in qualifying, sometimes half a second, and that really leads to close racing, good competition, and improves the breed.
It absolutely does. Now we're back here at Lydd for the first time since 2016 in Kent. The Mini GP 70s have been breaking a lot of lap records over the entire season. Do you feel like it's just the competition within the category, or do you just feel like each track is improving? What is the combination that keeps this from getting better?
It's definitely the fact that the riders are getting better. I mean, the competition is much stiffer. I think we're somehow closing them up. It's even happening in the 50s. The 50 class has become closer than ever before. 70 class, I think, is closer than it's ever been before. And they're constantly breaking lap records at each circuit we go to in those classes. And it's not always the person who wins the race. It can be the 6th position rider who actually breaks the lap record. And that gives an indication of how close it all is and how that talent, and I quite expect those maybe 6 or even 7 riders, if they can sort themselves out for sponsors and so on, and obviously we have to get used to that. They do need sponsorship. They can all go into British Talent Cup next year, and I think they'll prove just how good the championship is, and it's the place to be. And because we have the complete stepping stones from 6 years old through to 12 years old in gradual increments, it does work.
It does indeed work a lot. Now, we're here at Lydd, and as we said earlier on, it's for the first time since 2016. How great is it to be back at such a rider favourite circuit?
It's very good, except it's limited paddock space, and that's not having a go at the circuit. I understand it will be enlarged again. It's been enlarged. It's still not big enough because the championship is getting bigger. It'll be bigger again next year, and we have plans to actually get hold of some extra space to park more people. So don't be put off by that. We will find space for everybody at next year's rounds, even here. And here, well, everybody loves the circuit because it's quite technical, it's quite grippy. I mean, today it's raining, but they seem to be going really quickly. In fact, Harvey Claridge, who is currently a BTC rider, was out on a 140 showing the Extreme 200 riders how it should be done, frightening me to death, but he was riding extremely well. And again, he'll be at Brno next weekend racing alongside the Grand Prix, and that's what'll happen. So in the future with this 2020 series, Dorna will select a rider from that series, not necessarily the winner, by the way, to go on to Junior World Championship, which is what Max Cook is in, who also came from Mastered in this year. And I understand there'll be a fairly significant prize for the winner anyway, and other prizes that will come along. I don't have those full details, but they will be unveiled over the next few weeks.
We look forward to indeed hearing about the details of the British Talent Cup, but just talking a little bit about Cool Fab. We're 8 rounds in the championship in 2019. Is there any plans to possibly expand the calendar and go into other circuits, possibly next year or beyond?
There's always the possibility. We have 2 problems. One, we're not under various regulations. We're not allowed to clash with BSB because of our main sponsorship. So we have to actually not clash with their round. So I have to wait for that calendar. I have to wait for the major kart calendar dates to come out, so we have to work around those. But we do always have more than 8. We have at least 1 or 2 non-championship rounds, which really are only open to the Mini GP 50s and 70s. And that gives the kids a chance to spread their legs, so to speak, on a really quick circuit, and so we make that not part of the championship though, but we would love to expand it. I mean, the dim and distant past, and it is a long way to go, when we could get more kart circuits, because a lot of them won't allow 2-wheel now. We have run 12 rounds. I'd like to sort of extend it maybe next year to 9 with 1 or 2 non-championship rounds on top of that. So we certainly want that, and we certainly want to get as many kids into the racing as possible. And in fact, Beck Wholesale, which is the holding company for FAB-Racing, has now become the sole distributor for all Metrokit Mini GP bikes, and I'm not going to call them Mini GP anymore because they're the only true Mini GP, and we get lots of bikes called Mini GP that are nothing like the right type of thing. We're going to call them MK GP50 and MK GP70 next year to differentiate from the standard Mini GPs, because our seriously quick bikes and they're seriously good ways for riders to live and learn on.
That's a good point you make. Do you feel like having the kids learn their craft on small go-karting circuits does make them into an all-rounded better rider going forward?
Cool FAB-Racing, the official BSB partner series, and on the road to MotoGP.